Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Hope you're all having an amazing day. We are officially in September, and our kids are back to school. This is a great time for a lot of people to kind of reset. A lot of you are trying to reset, even for ourselves. Like over the summertime, we have a lot of barbecues going on, a lot of fun stuff going on. So maybe over the summer times, a lot of people go into maintenance and then want to go back into a calorie deficit in the summertime. This is actually what a lot of our clients have decided to do. So when we work with clients, we don't always put them continuously in a calorie deficit, which is what is required for fat loss. We take breaks, and what we try to do a lot of times is schedule these breaks during times that, might be busier for our clients. So a lot of our clients either choose to go into a calorie deficit throughout the summer, or they take a dieting break throughout the summer and practice, what maintenance calories look like. And so maintenance is basically the amount of calories that your body needs to maintain where you're currently at. This allows them to have a little bit more flexibility in their diet, and it allows them to, really practice sustainable eating, practice how to navigate barbecues, social events, vacations, which is what's really important when we're, going on a weight loss journey or a fat loss journey, when we want to improve our body composition. One of the things that we really stress at Frenza Fit is that we really want our clients to learn a sustainable way of doing things. And, one of the things that we try to teach is like, it's not this all or nothing mindset, meaning like, okay, if I'm not 100% perfect all the time, then, what's the point of doing it? What we try to teach is like, 20% rule, where we're adding 80% whole foods, 20% fun foods. We try to teach our clients that there are phases that we're going to go through, and I think one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of women make is that they try to diet for very long periods of time. And, when we do that, we also do get what we call metabolic adaptation, where your metabolism adapts to that lower amount of calories. And this is what we typically see as a plateau. So taking dieting breaks is really important, so that we can really support a healthy metabolism as we go through a fat loss phase. So, September seems to be a reset month for a lot of us, including myself, which is a great time to, maybe go back into a calorie deficit. Things are more regular routine, more regular schedule. Maybe you're not traveling as much or things like that. So a lot of people are going into that. I just want to let you guys know that I am going to be doing another challenge. I'm going to be launching that in a couple weeks. It's going to be our 21-day 40+ fat loss kickstart challenge. So if you're interested in doing that, please, stay tuned. If you get my emails, look out for my emails. If you're part of this community, I'll be posting it within the community as well too. And this is going to be a really great challenge, especially for a lot of you that are thinking about, like, I need to lose weight. I want to improve my body composition. I want to get toned. I want to get defined, all the things that we help our clients with. You can jump into this challenge to kind of kickstart things for yourself. Now, today I'm going to be talking about HIIT and what it is and why I advise against doing HIIT as your way of working out, especially for women over 40. So for those of you that are watching live right now, say hello in the comment section. Let me know that you're here so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. But, I want to talk about what HIIT is, first of all, and what that looks like. So a lot of HIIT can be things like Orange Theory, F45, spinning, boot camp classes. Even though they are using weights in these classes, the intensity of this class can be considered HIIT, okay? And a lot of these classes are specifically marketed to women over 40. But I want to explain why these programs, while they might make you feel like you're working really hard, are really not the best strategy if you're looking at improving your body composition or losing body fat. And when I talk about body composition, this is what I mean is how much body fat your body is carrying and how much muscle your body is carrying. Okay. When we want to look fit, tone, defined, we want to improve body composition by having more muscle on our body and less body fat. Okay. So HIIT is a form of training that alternates between short bursts of high intensity work with periods of rest or low intensity recovery. However, many of the classes marketed as HIIT, like Orange Theory, F45, even spinning classes, don't really meet that definition. Instead, they often keep us in what we call moderate intensity, where you're working hard enough to sweat and burn calories, but not hard enough to trigger the hormonal responses we want, like growth hormone and testosterone production, which is key when we're trying to lose body fat and change our body composition. So why is this a problem? These classes put your body under moderate stress for prolonged periods of time. And the problem is that moderate intensity, you're really pushing your cortisol levels up, which is a stress hormone. And the thing that happens when we stay in this high stress response or high cortisol state is that it makes it harder to lose body fat, particularly around the belly area. And it also can lead to muscle breakdown. Okay. The other thing that I want to talk about too is like when we are in perimenopause and menopause, estrogen and progesterone are hormones that help us deal with cortisol. So when we lose estrogen and progesterone and these hormones start decreasing as we age, we don't have the help anymore from estrogen and progesterone to help us deal with cortisol levels. So we really want to try and not drive those cortisol levels as much as possible because it will make it harder for your body to lose body fat, okay? And when I tell women that their beloved, classes like Orange Theory, F45, boot camp classes, or spin classes aren't working for their body, they often feel disheartened because you leave those classes, these women do these classes and you feel like you're totally smashed. Like, oh my God, I got like such a great workout in and I should be seeing changes in my body, but a lot of times they're not. And, a lot of women feel confused. Like, why am I not seeing the body composition changes that I'm longing for, even though I'm working out so hard, I'm burning so many calories. And that's because the intensity is not enough to stress your system, but it's not the right type of stress that we want to help us promote muscle protein synthesis, okay? So yes, during these classes, you are going to be burning calories, but the calorie burn is not what matters here, okay? What we should be doing instead is we need to engage in resistance training, strength training, okay? As we age, especially as women over 40, our levels of estrogen and progesterone levels decline, like I talked about. This makes it harder for us to build muscle and maintain bone density. This is why a lot of women over the age that go through this menopausal transition, are at risk of things like sarcopenia, which is where we're losing muscle mass, and osteoporosis. This is why resistance training is so important. We need to lift heavy weights to stimulate the bones and muscles because we don't have the hormonal support we used to have. Estrogen helps with muscle growth and recovery. Also, testosterone does this as well too. We also have testosterone in our body. And without it, these higher repetition, lighter weight workouts just really don't cut it anymore, or don't cut it for us at all when it comes to helping us build lean muscle mass, okay? And that's why I emphasize heavy resistance training. We need the central nervous system to stimulate the muscle to build strength and improve our body composition. And the type of workouts that we want to be doing is progressive overload training. This simply means that over time, you gradually increase the weight or resistance in your workouts. This means that we are doing a set program for at least 6 to 8 weeks at a time. You know, maybe it's a 3-day program, maybe it's a 4-day program, and we are repeating this program week after week. And every week we are trying to progressively lift heavier. We are also doing a lot of compound movements. So squats, lunges, deadlifts, shoulder presses, chest presses, you know, rows, pull-ups. These compound movements need to be the base of our exercise movements, and we want to be progressively lifting heavier. This is why these classes don't qualify as proper strength training where we are progressively overloading. You know, if you're doing these classes and you're going very fast in your movement, you're not resting enough in between your sessions. You know, we want to be resting in at least a minute to a minute and a half between our sets. If you're not resting enough, it's going to be really hard to stimulate that muscle growth, okay? So we want to be continuously challenging your muscles, which will lead to increased strength, which will lead to more lean muscle and ultimately better fat loss. Okay, so this kind of training is going to help you improve your body composition far better than any HIIT class will ever do. Okay, you're not only going to look leaner, but you're also going to feel stronger and more capable. Plus, resistance training boosts your metabolism and helps you burn more fat even at rest. So let's talk about that for a little bit. Yes, during cardio sessions, you're burning a certain amount of calories, but that is not what matters, okay? Cardio will actually break down muscle mass as well too, and that's not what we want when we want to improve our body composition. We want to make sure that we are lifting heavy and we are preserving and building as much lean muscle mass as possible. The reason being that when we have more muscle on our body will actually burn more calories at rest, okay? Doesn't matter the calorie burn that happens during that cardio session. What we want to see is what's happening post-exercise, post-workout session. So if you're only burning that amount of calories during that time frame, but then your resting metabolic rate is very low because you don't have enough muscle on your body, like it really defeats the purpose. So when we are building muscle, that allows our body to burn more calories at rest. Muscle is a very, very expensive tissue. So when we have more muscle on our body, our bodies will burn more calories at rest, which is far better for fat loss. They did a recent study where they actually studied and compared 3 different groups. They compared a group doing cardio, and they compared a group doing resistance training. And I think the third group is cardio and resistance training. And out of all of these 3 groups, the group that had the most significant amount of fat loss was the group that just did resistance training. Okay, so research is showing this, that resistance training is the key for fat loss, okay? You know, it'll help with improving your body composition. So having more muscle on your body's burning more calories at rest, and it'll also help with losing body fat. So I know we've spent many years being told that we need to do a lot of cardio in order to lose weight, but ladies, that is not the way. That is the old way of doing things that just made us look skinny fat, okay? Like I just did an example of our client, Deanna. You can go back in the Facebook group and look at her. She was doing boot camp classes, Peloton classes, and she was only strength training a few days a week. Yes, like if you looked at her, she looked, you know, she wasn't overweight, but she was also what she called herself skinny fat. You know, these are her own words that she's saying to me. We removed the cardio. We swapped that out for walking. So we still had, like, walking is a really great way to reduce cortisol levels. And we focused on progressive overload training, just strength training. 4 days a week of lifting heavy weights. Her body, and the other thing that we did during this time frame is we actually had her eating at maintenance calories. So we haven't even gotten into a fat loss phase with her. And she was also able to see incredible body composition changes. Of course, she had made sure that her nutrition was dialed in, eating enough protein so that we could support building that lean muscle mass. She's taking appropriate supplements as well too, but primarily making sure that she was recovering well, eating enough protein, having enough carbs. She wasn't starving herself. We were fueling her body with enough fuel so that she can actually build that lean muscle mass. And without even really going into, a real fat loss phase with her, she was able to see body composition changes. She lost inches, she gained lean muscle mass. And that is really what she was hoping to do with prior to coming with us, but she was never seeing the results that she wanted. So it's important to understand that this approach, it works better. And, Deanna's in her 50s. So this approach works really well. It's exactly what we do with all of our clients. So this is why I advise against HIIT for women over 40. We need to work with our hormones. We need to support our hormones. We need to understand what's going on hormonally with our bodies. And like what used to work for us in our 20s and 30s, it's not going to work for us anymore. We are really extremely sensitive to stress. And we really want to try to make sure that we're not doing anything to really raise those cortisol levels. Okay. So, who's watching? Nancy and Elaine Braden. Hi, ladies. Thank you so much for watching. Have any of you been in this situation? Like for those of you that are watching live right now, like how many of you used to do HIIT before? How many of you used to think that like cardio is the way to get the body of your dreams? Just pop it in the comment section below. I'm just curious. Even with some clients that have come to us that really love F45, I have one client in particular, like she loves F45 and she came to us, but we basically changed her training. And so that she's focusing more on progressive overload training. And she's doing that, pretty much 3 days a week. And, because she really loves the group environment, she's only doing 1 day of that. But, hormonally, like, and her symptoms are pretty good. She has good energy levels. She's sleeping really good. Stress is not so high. But if we have a woman that's going through perimenopausal symptoms that, is not sleeping well, has very low energy levels, stress levels are really high, like, we don't want to be putting that into the mix of everything. We want to really try and reduce that cortisol, reduce that overall stress as much as possible. Okay. So Elaine said, yeah, absolutely thought cardio was the key. And now Elaine's lifting heavy weights and seeing incredible body composition changes, which we are so excited for you, Elaine, to see that. And, I don't think she'll ever go back to cardio except for, doing her walking and getting her steps in daily. It really doesn't need to be these like high intensity workouts where we're feeling completely smashed. We're like working ourselves to the bone. It's actually the entire opposite. It's just, yes, we want intensity while we're lifting heavy weights, but we could just chill out with doing some walking. It'll help us with our non-exercise activity thermogenesis, meaning the amount of calories we're burning throughout the day just by movement, by daily movement. And, also lowering that cortisol level as well too. So I hope this was informative for you ladies. Thank you so much for joining me. We will see you back again next week. Let's see when our next live is. Our next live is going to be next week, Thursday as well too. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you guys all have an amazing day. Bye for now, ladies. Have a good one.